All right, Coachman Freelander. You can see all that deformed. That's Phylon. A lot of people think it's fiberglass. It really isn't. It is plastic with fiberglass strands in it for strength. That's why it wrinkles like that. Much like when you put you know, water bottle, if it's out in the sun, you'll see it start crinkling up, right? That's what it is. I'm also noticing some issues right here. I don't know what quite that is. Obviously, it looks like some sort of patch. So we're going to, but now if you are about to buy a coach, you go, hey, you know, I'm looking at this coach, you know, all right, I'm going to look at it. You're looking at the windshield. See how it drops down? See it? That's how you know the bunk is rotted. It should be flat across. That's one indicator. The other indicator is right here on the shoulder. You can see all that booger. See all that? That's all. I mean, you can tell it's trying to been caulked, and it's just big wads of caulking. You might as well walk from this thing because you got problems, especially if you see this nonsense. Hey, I had it fixed. No worries. It doesn't leak. None of that. People will lie to sell their coaches because they know it's going to cost a lot to fix them, and they don't want the hassle. And they go, you know, I'm just going to sell it. So, unless you want to put the money into it, but just beware that that's what it is. Now, another way you can do this as well is these screws. This is just trim. It just pops right off. See? Just comes right out. Zip. Take these screws out. Take a screw out. It's a number 2 square drive. Take a screw out. Take a screw out. You're not, if the person gets upset at you doing that, then don't buy the coach. You know, but what you're really looking for is when you take that screw out, these screws, if they're rusty, then you've got some issues. That means there's moisture up inside there and it's rusting out, obviously, the screws. So that's one indicator. And you can do it all along. You can do it like down here, and those stuff just snaps back in. So like I said, if the seller is like, oh no, you can't take a screw out or whatever, this stuff just snaps, it just glides back in. So you're not harming anything. You know, it's not sealed anyway, so it's not like you're breaching any caulking or anything like that. So, and then, so those are kind of the things you want to look for. You look at the body, you look at all that. If you see like all this caulking all wadded up in here, now this is not caulking. This is not. This is butyl. Butyl has no properties built into it to reflect UV light. So eventually it's just going to dry out, and then when it dries out, it's actually going to pull moisture in. That needs to be shaved off, and this thing needs to be caulked. So this is another issue here. I don't know if you can see the way that screw is put in this way. It should be put in square, so is that one. So somebody just flew these screws in. So here's a concern. This product right here, this insert trim, the way it goes in, you can see that gap? So water can get in there. So water and moisture, you can see how dirty that is too. So obviously some water is getting in there. So when the water does get in there, you know, and starts trickling down, it's going to hit these screws. That condensation, just moisture will get in there. It doesn't have to be a lot. It'll get in there. You can actually see some rust on that one already. So it'll go down, it'll hit this, and then it'll travel back into the wall. It'll travel, and you get these chronic leaks. It's not going to be like, you know, one rain and all of a sudden your wall's rotted. That's not going to be the case. It's going to be chronic. It's going to be a little moisture, a little moisture, a little moisture, and then after a while, you're going to be like, hey, what happened? And you're going to notice either things loosening up. So now you get some moisture in there, driving down, wherever you're going, and the coach is racking, twisting, flexing, hitting bumps and everything else. That's what they do. And all that energy has to go somewhere. And it goes to these fasteners. These fasteners loosen up. So once they loosen up, then the caulking loosens up. And now you got even more moisture and more water getting in there. So, you know, these really need to be sealed. You know, they really should. We do them. We seal every single screw. Every single screw. Everything we do, yes, that's what we do. Probably encourage you to put some caulking in here to get that right in this spot, right? Make sure you don't have any driving rain or anything as you're traveling. You know, you get all that headwind pushing as you're traveling, and the water can get pushed all over the place. You'd be surprised where it's going to go. So, but anyhow, those are some tips. If you see a lot of caulking on something, even on the roof, you know, they've got issues. They've got issues. And, you know, I see people say, oh, it's okay, I'll put on a spray-on roof. When we take this apart, and I've showed it on other videos, there's always underlying damage. 99% of the time, we're showing underlying damage. And you don't want to spray over underlying and have the damage still under there, you know. You don't want to do that because you're just locking all that moisture, all that trash in there, and it's just going to make things worse. So I want to show you the inside. I got my scaffold. The door can only open up that much, so I'm going to have to close this, and then I'm going to have to, we'll have to access the inside. But once we do, we can pull this scaffold over. I got to take the awning off. I didn't want to take all the awning arms and everything off unnecessarily. On some of them, we'll take the doors off. These are all riveted, so we'll just go in the other way. So here's your coach. As you can see, when you come in, I got everything all padded up. That's the norm. This is how we treat people's property. We want to take care of it. So what's going to happen also is where these vents are right here, that plastic ring will come down, and we'll put a little blocker that's the same exact size as that ring to prevent dirt and debris from falling in on the coach. Same with this one and the Skylight. So we're going to do all that. And then we'll even do this, and we've dropped the air conditioner. Bring this back here, get some of that light. But right here where this air conditioner is, we're going to do the same thing. So here's your bunk. You can see how rotted this is, right? This is what I was saying. You can actually see this looks like it's tipping down. I don't know if the camera picks that up or not, but it's actually tipping down. So not only is it tipping down, it's sagging. This is obviously trashed. So and that's why it's here. So we're going to rebuild it. Now we'll say that you got a mattress up there. You can't see all this, and we'll say he didn't peel all this up, right? And you come in, you're like interested in possibly buying it. Look at things like, see if you can notice stuff like that wallpaper. Look up here. See that trim right there? See how it's all swirly? That's an indicator moisture got in there. If you see peeling wallpaper, things like that, those are indicators. Another indicator is you can see somebody's been in here and they put a whole bunch of little brads in there. So that's kind of like, why did they do that? Why did it come down? There's always an underlying reason, and 90% of the time it's moisture, it's water. So, and you can see also along here, now that you get a little closer and you're looking, back the camera up a little bit, you can see they've got some screws in here. You see? So obviously it was coming off, so they screwed it back together. Someone's been monkeying with this because you can see there's a staple up inside there. I don't think that's a factory staple because it doesn't cover the, you can see how squirrely the trim is. Looks like somebody did it and tried to put it back. So that's just my guess, but those would be red flags for me if I were to buy a camper and I'm looking at one. So and then the other thing you can do too, if you can do the same thing I told you about the screws. You can do that on these here. Take that square ring out, 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. You got to take the whole thing out. Just drop it down, see if the screw's rusty, especially in the Skylight. You want to try and do that. And then if you got obviously rusty screws, you know you've had moisture in there. Another way is you can go in and you can kind of tap along the top of the wall right there and the top of the ceiling, see if any moisture has gotten in there. And depending on the way the coach is designed, you may or may not feel that. But you can always see if there's any like wallpaper or anything wrinkled, right? So you want to check all stuff like that. Overall, I mean, I think the coach looks pretty nice. So, again, these are just some tips. People ask me all the time, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you check out? And a lot of these are common sense. Like things that don't look normal, that don't look professional, that don't look it. You know, although the RV industry is a pretty sloppy industry, and their standards and their workmanship is just the lowest of the low, the quality of their work, and also the materials they use. The materials are the cheapest of the cheap. So again, so now you have all this here on this part, but we'll say there's damage up on the roof, right? Not the ceiling, but the roof. This is a foam roof. So up underneath here, this is your, get away from that light. This is your ceiling, but if you were to drill a hole, you're gonna go right into foam. You keep going, you'll drill into, and that's just 1/8 inch panel. You'll go into foam, you'll go to the roof, that's an 1/8 inch panel, and then you go right through whatever the roofing is. You know, it could be Phylon, or it could be, you know, a membrane, whatever. And then that's it, that's what comprises it. So some people just wanna try to, you know, put solar and all those things need to be prepped for these. But that's the way this roof is all comprised. Let me get these doors shut and everything. We're going to pull the scaffold together and I'll show you the roof itself. But, you know, like I said, the materials they use, it's just the cheapest of the cheap. Now, I do like a ply foam roof, and that is what this is. It's ply foam. It's strong as long as no moisture gets in it. But what I was getting at is how thick this is, and there could be some, more likely, there's going to be some underlying rot up underneath there, right? And why do you want to spray over that? You're going to just lock all that in. You're going to lock in all that mold. You're going to lock in all that, you know, moisture and wetness. If you do not open these up, they will not dry. It's just the way it is. You have to open them up so they dry. So, you know, and I've got videos upon videos upon videos that show how much work we do. And I would never, ever, if I thought it was a very good idea and it was a money saver and there was no need to do all the work we did and so forth, I would just buy the daggone machine. I'm not a roof guy. Excuse me, I'm not an RV guy. I am a roof guy, but I'm not an RV guy. So I'm a commercial general contractor by trade. So I've had machines, I've had sprayers, I've had all this equipment that cost $30,000 for a piece of equipment. I've had it all. If I thought it was advantageous for the customer, and you know, the bottom line, by the time the project comes together, if I thought it was advantageous to spray it, then I would do it. But it's not, and that's why I don't do it. That's why we do the work we do, because there's always underlying issues that should need either be fixed, inspected, checked before you just willy-nilly just start going, hey, it looks pretty good. So we did a Jayco, I think a Jayco Eagle. It's a fifth wheel. Roof deck looked fine. It looked fine, absolutely fine. I mean, that would have been technically a candidate to have it sprayed over. If you were to look at it, tap on it and everything, you'd be like, ah, that feels real good, we can spray over it. So we opened it up, and when we opened it up, the trunk lines were broke. So all this cold air was blowing up. So now you spray over it, you know, hey, I don't have any air conditioning. What do? Go up and tear out that roof that you just had put down, or you tear a ceiling out? I mean, it's got to get fixed somehow. These are the things we check. So we just want to make sure it's done right, done the first time, don't do it again. Let me get up top, show you the roof. Got some cracks in the door. Just a product. Just cheap. So, alright. So you also want to seal in here. Water get down there or delam the door. You want to check all that. We're on the top of our Freelander. Guess the satellite is broke. He's not going to put an antenna from what we understand. Oh, wow, look at all that bull cocky on there. Okay, you can see all of this self-leveling. That's all failed, so I don't use this stuff. That's all little air pockets that gets dried out when the sun hits it, and it fractured everything, fractured it all around here. It's just not a good product. I do not endorse it. And the other problem you have is like right here. So that's all broke apart in there. You're gonna get water going down in there, and that sounds good, so I'm hoping. But you can tell they've already gone over it a couple times. 2 different colors, all of it. I mean, I don't know how much more you keep building these things up before you have a moat going around everything. Alrighty. Same thing here. Still cracking. If you have these, it usually leaks up in here. There's a screw right here. So water will get in here and get behind. A lot of people don't caulk that. They think this is good, but it'll get in there. The blowing rain will. So I've got a patch right here. So we're about ready to tear her apart. We're going to start making the whole front bunk. Got to tear all that apart too. So this is your, get some cracks in the cover, crack in the back. This whole back side's all busted out. You can see it's been like that for a while. You can see the discoloration on there. So, all right, well, that's what we got to do. Let's get busy. We will show you some more once we get this roof off, the bunk off, something to show you. Then I'll show you more. That's kind of how it works. Yeah, Zooks. Can't you smell that smell? Looky there. Ooh, it's already coming down. That's some nasty right there. Alright, well, let's get some more out of this. Already ripping. It's so dry. It really is. This thing is just dry. We're probably going to have to put a new piece on the front here. So, probably See what we can do, but we gotta get her fixed up. We got us some garden mulch. Looks like compost. So this piece that I'm poking, that keeps pushing up there, that's just foam. So, but this piece is rotted too. Let her rip. See if it'll fall off. Bam. That's what you got. These fancy little sticks. That's the quality you pay for. Thank you, Coachman. You're the bestest. We shut the camera off, and then what I noticed was that is pretty clean wood. So somebody else tried bunking with this to fix it, and because this wood right here, that's pressure treated. That radius, pressure treated, and that's new wood. So that's not. I guess they thought screwing it to this rotted stuff would hold it together. That was the plan. So just FYI, take a tip. It doesn't work. This may not be a DIY channel, but that's a real good tip for you. Don't screw to rotted wood. Doesn't work. All right. So we're gonna start prepping to make a new radius and everything for this. And then that's all you get is that aluminum piece. That may be salvageable. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But obviously the platform is all junk, so that's got to be rebuilt. I don't even see any frame in there. There was supposed to be a frame right here, but how did they secure it in there? What are they using to secure it in there? Is it the paper, the molding on the inside?
I think it's just the middle piece screwed to the board on the inside, yeah.
You don't see any screws coming down from the top into the...
No, it's just, it looks like maybe these and this bracket.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking it's the molding on the inside. We're going to find out here real soon. So, I'll make a new radius. When you make several of them, they're called radii. But one of the bigger problems that they did here, if you look, and this is the way they do it in the industry, and this just doesn't make any sense though, but, well, it makes sense because they're cheap. But see, that's plywood. You can't screw in the end grain of plywood. It doesn't have the strength. So what happens is when it starts leaking, you know, after these things take a lot of headwind. These front bunks move around a lot. So now when it does and it loosens up, now you get water in there. But it also, you can see the plywood. We got plywood. See how it's separating? That's called delamination. Let's get that thing will focus in. Come on. So that's delamination. So now the plywood starts to delaminate, and then the screws even get more loose. And then you get more leaks. So it really should have been a solid stock of wood. It's really what it should have been. I don't think the screws would be long enough to split it, but even if they were, you should put a pilot hole in there, and then you can just screw it in. That's the right way to do it. So this way, it's all secured. But you can't put it in on the end grain like that. That just doesn't make sense. It's kind of like screwing to the end of a broom, you know? You can't do it. It's not going to stay. I mean, that may be, obviously it's exaggerated, but now you can see, like, that's all foam. All that you're looking at right here, that's foam. That's all it is. And they had a piece right here that's already fallen out. And this other one here is fallen out right there. So obviously somebody tried to fix it. I showed you that earlier. So like I said, I'm just going to make a whole new radius. It's going to be one piece. And it's going to be light and it's going to be super strong. So once I get all that built, and then, you know, we'll obviously rebuild the platform and everything. I think we got some issues in the wall. And we'll try and get that cleaned up, you know. We'll probably pop a window, see how far it goes. I'll get rid of that rot. And then, you know, he may have to put some wallpaper or paint it or whatever he wants to do on the inside. But structurally, it'll be sound. And, you know, we'll have a clean piece of wood in there instead of that rot. All right. Well, all right, this is what we got. This is the inside platform where your mattress would be. So we just jerked it out. That's what we got. Then, like I say, you can see that rod over there. I made a new radius for it. So I do these a lot differently than anybody else. So what a lot of people are going to do are going to, see you got this rail going across here? That's what most people are going to do. They're going to put one here and it's going to go across. and then they'll put one in the middle and go across, and they'll put one on the bottom going across. So you have 3 sticks. That's how they generally do it. Usually in the middle, they may put a couple more of those radii, or the radius, they'll put in there, and then they'll continue on 3 more. But that doesn't stifle all this, and it doesn't kind of solidify all of the bunk. So all of this stuff is just going to fail. These things take a lot of headwind. So what I did is, and you have to be careful in the way you build these, because if you build them too heavy, then it's counteracting what you want to do. So then when you go down the road, and I've seen some other ones, and they've had like steel right here, a piece of steel, heavy steel, maybe like a flat piece that connects the platform to the top here. It'll be a piece of steel just going in on an angle. It's real heavy. So now as you're going down the road, it's bouncing, right? You don't want to do that, because then when it does that, it's jerking on this frame right here. Those frames, it's just cheap aluminum. That's all it is. And you can even see, like right there, it's not welded. They don't weld all these. They just put a little, what I call snot welds on them. Now you do have a weld right here, but that's about, you're not going to get very much out of it. You do much more, you're going to end up burning through it, because the alloy in this aluminum is so low, you can't weld it. So I can see one over there in that corner. So I mean, I'm not saying it's not welded, and even up in here I can see one, but it's not welded all the way around. So when you take, for instance, this piece up in here in this corner, you take this piece and you bend it back in, you're going to break that weld. So the more these things get racking back and forth, it aggravates those little welds. And again, it's just aluminum. It's not welded like steel. So you really would want to have had it tagged and, welded on both sides to give it strength. And then, also now the thing's bouncing this way, you still want to put some on the top there too. But they don't do all that. They just get it built, get it out, get it sold. So again, that's what we're, I like to show the way they do these, but my radius is going to be one piece all the way across. It's going to be real light, it's going to be real strong. And when you see it, you'll be like, that's pretty daggum ingenious of you. So you can see, they get all this tape on here. They put that on there, and all this self-leveling. You can see some spots right in the edge. This is compromised. And then there's a little bit of water standing. I've seen a lot worse than that for sure. A little bit over there. Haven't got this up yet. But just by going by this, doesn't look too bad. And from here where the ladder was, we have some more right here. So we'll get the rest of it up, but a lot of it, obviously, that over there is coming up. This is all delamed. That's what this is. The lamination is when, I'll go over on the other side and show you. So this is what's known as a fleece back TPO. That's what it is. This is not anything like the TPO we put down, but that's what that is, fleece. So we have to redeck this, because we're not going to be able to get all that up. And then if we put our glue on there, it's going to wad up. It's going to be big lumps underneath there. So we're going to redeck this. But I mean, we have to anyways, because we got some, like you said, some delam right here. So this is delamination. So you look at the grain that's going this way. This piece is going this way. And then that one underneath is going back this way. They alternate the grain. That's what they do. Now this has 3 pieces, so there's a 3-ply plywood. It's just 1/8 inch anyways. That's all it is. Some people always want to put they're going to put a solar panel up on there. Where are you going to screw it to? This is, it's all foam. Right up underneath this is foam. You got a little frame right here, right? I don't know if that's a complete truss frame over there. Sometimes they'll just box them in, but it's not like there's solid wood. If you wanted to put it like right here, it's probably not going to be a good idea. Like you said, they got a box. There's a truss in there. So they may have some trusses on here. And you get into these, and some of them build this way, some of them build that way, and then they stop building them this way and redid it that way. But this is what, let me get through here for a second. You can see the foam in there. That's what's known as ply foam. So you got the roof deck, the roofing, the roof deck, foam, and then way down there you'll have a ceiling panel, and then whatever your ceiling panel texture is, that's ply foam. Alright, so we've got this all tore up. This is where the antenna was. if you look at that discoloration, you can see some discoloration here. So this is one of the things why I don't promote a spray on roof. Got a moisture meter. That's not terrible. That's 35.67 or so. That's out. That's wet. But if you look at it and hear it, it doesn't sound bad. There's water in there. We gotta get that water out. So it's never gonna dry, and this is what I tell people, it doesn't dry. You have to open it up. So we're gonna pull that, and we're gonna see if we can, I wanna make sure it hasn't gone down into the ceiling. That's generally what happens. It'll seep through that polystyrene foam, it'll get down to the ceiling. And I just wanna know if it's in there. So now you do a roof, and then it's all done, and then some time goes by and you go, hey, my ceiling panels are coming down. Why is that? This is loosening up, something's wrinkling. Why is that? Well, that's why, because you may have stopped the leak, but the water's still in there. So these are all the things we check. That's why I don't do a spray-on roof system. I'd buy the sprayer. I've had those before, big sprayers when I did commercial work. I had all those sprayers to do recovery systems for like big metal buildings and even large flat roofs on some instances. And I also had a machine that would roll out standing seam metal. That was a high dollar machine. So I have no problem buying the machine. I just don't think it's effective on this scenario because there's too many variables. You just can't cover this stuff up. So, you know, you do it, eventually something's going to catch up with you. So it sounds like it's a good cheap plan to get out, but in the long run it doesn't work that way. So we're going to investigate that for sure and see what's going on, and then we'll let you in on some more stuff, I guess. So we took all this other on the front. Probably check it for the heck of it. I'm gonna turn it on. Gee whiz. Yeah, that's zero right there. So that's fine. I was actually expecting this to be a lot more wet. So that's fine. The foam is zero. Shouldn't hold any moisture, period. Foam is always zero. Alright, so we checked all this. Then I dug a little hole down to the ceiling. And you can see it's just borderline. It's got some moisture down on it. It's like 18, 2. You can see on that layer, when it's red like that, that's not really good. You really want it more, you know, even in the yellow out. 15 is a little wet, but you really want, ideally, you know, 10 is good. So that's all the way down to the ceiling right here. And that's where this big satellite was. Now this thing has been in storage for a few months. So it hasn't seen any water. It's not like it was outside and then it rained and we brought it in. It's been in storage. So it hasn't seen any rain for probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. So this is why I show all this stuff. You know, you don't want to spray over all this nonsense because it'll get down, and I'll show you there's a couple little tiny spots in the ceiling. I'll get in there, get the lights on, and I'll show you that. All right, check out our new platform. So we got it all reframed out, added some strength, did a half flap, and then put in some new foam, but yet we glued it all around to bond it. You need to have all this glued together. That's where it gets its strength. So now we're just waiting for the foam because we just did it, so it's still a little soft. We'll shave that off, and then we're going to laminate another piece on top. Then we'll put the siding on, and then we'll get it all ready. But that's the basic construction of it, so it'll be fine. We are going to get ready to redeck this, but this whole area right here, it was all wet. This is what we tore out. This is what I was showing you. So we tore that foam out, dried it, so we had the blowers on there, mold killed it, and then we got this foam in here that we just glued in. We're going to wait for it to cure out, then we're going to shave it down and to the same shape and profile of the roof. Then we're going to redeck it. So, but it took a good day for that to dry out, where we could, even when we took the foam out, the ceiling was still wet, so we had to keep a blower on it. And again, these are some of the reasons why I say spray on roof isn't always the best avenue to go. All right, so we made the repairs. We already rolled that over. All we had to do, you saw that. We just had to shave down that foam. And then obviously got new decking on here, put our strips in there, and then this side is already glued. This is glued. It's going to get rolled here in a second. So we're pretty much rock and rolling with this. And that'll get the roof done. Then I'll show you what we're doing on the front bunk here after a while. So when I shut the camera off, I remembered I didn't tell you that we put some metal edge banding on here. And that's so when the roofing rolls over, that the actual siding doesn't chafe the roofing as the coach kind of moves a little bit. So we put those down too. And then you can see everything is all glued down, fastened down, so it isn't going anywhere. That's for sure. A lot of people don't glue these down. Like at the manufacturers, they don't glue them down. They need to be glued down. So they're glued and fastened down. Everything is. All right, so we got our front bunk coming together. You can see we get the new radius put in. That's gonna be a lot stronger than those little sticks they had. Got the top part over here done. You can see we've got new radii going across. They didn't even have those. That's going to add a lot more strength to this bunk. Everything's all secured into the lower platform and it's all leashed. So it's still not done. We're going to wrap it. All right, this is what we got. So wrapped it with metal. That goes all the way back. It's glued and secured. So that goes back into the platform, that bottom part, right? And then it wraps, covers, and it's all glued there, glued to the top there. We got another one up here going over into the roof. All of it is glued and fastened. So this is all going to work in concert. This thing is going to be all one piece. It's going to be super strong. So then we get the Phylon right here. And we're going to glue it on here in a minute. Well, look at us. We got the front Phylon back on the bunk. So we got the roofing all glued down too. And we just have to get everything cleaned up with corner mold on, gutters, and then we still got to get the curbs and everything on. So it'll come out real good. That's going to be strong as heck. Really strong as hell, but maybe a family program. All right, we got the siding up. We got to still put those lights in. So we got that on there, the Phylon. And then got the bunk together. See if I get in here. Mostly together. We put all these pads on here to protect everything. So then what we did, so you got the interior we redid. He's probably gonna have to put some paint or something on here. But we also put some insulation up inside here. That's a commercial grade insulation, it's not the cheap stuff. So we got all that in there, and then we just got one more piece we're gonna put on there. Like I said, you may have to just put some molding or whatever on here. Some wallpaper, however he wants to deck it out. All right, so in our bathroom, we have got the Skylight up here. And what we did is we wrapped it all with aluminum inside here. You have a frame, obviously, wood frame. And then we returned it back underneath the Skylight. If this Skylight leaks, it'll jewel down here and go into the inner lens and drip into the shower instead of running all up amok inside the roof assembly, right? So that's why we did that. And then these are vent holes for the, when you put this other lens in here, then you've got the cavity, you've got a cavity up here, and it gets hot in there, but also there's a condensation, it's called a dry rot issue. So on this side over here, there's a blower fan. I'll show you when we get on the roof. There's a blower fan, but it pulls, from here is the intake, and it'll pull the air up over and back out this way to keep air constantly going in there so you don't get dry rot. So in the summertime, or excuse me, in the winter time, or cooler weather, we'll say, you'll have dew on the top of the lens, and you'll also have it right here, right on this inside of this lens right here, you'll have some dew. And then when the sun comes up, it evaporates what's on the other side, on the outside, but all it does is warm this up, and then it'll drool right down, and that's usually how you get these leaks. And a lot of people go up there and you keep sealing and sealing, I got a leak. Well, eventually, when it does it, it'll start rotting out the deck, and then it'll rot out this, and when the water can't go anywhere anymore, and everything's absorbed what it can, then it'll start dripping. And people keep thinking that it's an actual roof leak when it's not. It's just the condensation. So that's what these are for. So this is going to pull, like I said, we'll have constant air, and that solar fan will kick on when all this happens, when the sun comes up to evaporate it. But I'll show you on the top when we get on that side. So we have got our bunk together, got all the trim put back on and everything. Like I said, he's probably going to end up painting this or something to get this all done up. We put a couple pieces of trim up there in the corners and stuff. So that's all together. I guess he's going to put his mattress up, but whatever. So let's go up and take a look at the roof. All right, so this is our Coachman Freelander done. Ready to go. You can see we got it done here June of 24. So I think when I left off on the inside, I was trying to explain about the Skylight here. So we solely glue these on, but what I was explaining is that the condensation, or the frost rather, in the cooler temperatures, it'll sit on here and then the sun comes up. So when the sun comes up, it'll evaporate what's off of here, that frost. But what's up underneath the inside, like I showed you from the inside, that doesn't get evaporated off. It drools back down on the inside of the lens, and then it can get into everything. So that's why we cladded the whole thing with aluminum. And then you can see I made those vent holes, because there's our solar. So now when the sun comes up to dry this off, that solar fan kicks on, and it draws from right here, and this is just a vent. So if this pops off, take that plumbing, put the plumbing on here. This is just a trough that goes through. So if this cap really comes off, then it could leak. But I mean, a tree branch should have to clip it off. So that's just something you got to keep in mind, that if it does, you're walking around the coach and you see it, take that one, or even that one. It doesn't matter. The plumbing, they're so sealed that any water that gets down inside there is just going to a holding tank. It's not going anywhere else. So that's the principle of the Skylight. These Skylights are just known to fracture and crack. They're just blown. When they put them together, they're blown to make the shape. And there's air that gets in those things. But a lot of times when you put the screws along here, and you get all those screws in, now when these things expand in the sun, they expand, quite a bit considering. You're not going to see it expand like 4 inches or nothing, but it's going to expand and it's going to push against those screws. Then when you get a thunder shower, now that contracts it and it's pulling against those screws, and that's where you get all those fractures in there. So that's why we don't even bother putting them in. You have people that always say, well, they're over tight and they're over this. I've even put them on this way, and believe it or not, I've had some come back, people say, hey, I got a crack in them. It's just a manufacturer's deal. There's not much I can do about it. I mean, they're glued on. There's nothing more I can think of that would prevent it from cracking. So, and again, that solar fan will kick on. Keep everything dry in there. That's the whole idea to it. A lot of times you'll see these on typical RVs, people will have a roof leak, and it's not necessarily a roof leak, it's condensation, basically dry rot. But these have all failed, and when they fail and start leaking, or that just the condensation will leak, then it loosens up the screws. So that condensation will get down inside that roof deck. When it gets down inside that roof deck, now obviously it makes it mush. Screws don't hold, they start loosening up, caulking loosens up. You got air just from traveling that's pulling on it. So all these things start to loosen up all that caulking, and then what people tend to want to do is just keep putting more and more self-leveling on it. That doesn't solve the problem. There's a bigger problem behind that, and that's why we design them this way, because then we don't have those issues. They're done. So again, will it never crack? I couldn't say that. I didn't make this particular Skylight lens, or any of them for that matter. And this one, it probably lasts longer than an identical one. I mean, it's just the way the ball rolls, so to speak. The whole probabilities of where an air pocket could be, I don't know. But anyhow, that explains that. So all of this here, all these curbs, that's the way you do a roof. This is the proper way to do a roof. You can go online and search commercial roof images. You're going to see all these roofs, all the ACs. You're going to see the skylights. You're going to see the AC, vents, exhaust fans, all these things are all elevated up off the roof line. And I've had people say, oh, well, this isn't a commercial roof. It's still a flat roof. That's the principle of a flat roof. Rain doesn't go, hey, that's a camper and that's a commercial building. And if anything, you would want to have curves on a camper, because when you're traveling in the rain, you're pushing against that rain. You're forcing more water than a stationary building, right? So that's why you'd want to have these curbs, because it keeps everything out of the water line and it gets rid of that erosion effect. So, and that's the purpose of these counter flashes that I build in. So when the water comes across, it's going to hit up underneath here and it's going to get redirected around. It would have to splash back over and try to move it. And I'm not saying you'll never get any drops of water. Obviously you got rain coming down, but this is what minimizes it, and this is what gets roofs to last. On the air conditioner, for instance, there's just a foam gasket underneath there. That's all that's protecting you, no matter what roof system you put on besides this one. If you get a spray roof, if you put a new EPDM rubber, TPO, it doesn't matter. Your typical RV roof insulation, spray on, roll on roof, you're still going to have an air conditioning foam gasket sitting on the roof exposed to the elements. And if you read any of those warranties on those spray-on or even the roll-on, when you read those warranties, they'll tell you they don't cover leaks from air conditioners. So, and that's a pretty common place to get a leak. Once that foam gasket wears out, that's it. Ours is sitting up on a curb. And we also got counter flashing in the front. So now when the rain comes down, especially as you're traveling, it's not going to get blown back into that gasket. It's staying away from it. And we also got the counter flash that's up there. So that goes down below the counter flash that I was showing you on this one. They all have them. So it'll push it down lower than that and get it to wash out. So that's the way a commercial roof works. You can see the same thing over here. We got the same curb. And on the gutter here, we put gutters on it. And then what we did is, these get glued on. We don't use butyl. I've heard people say, oh, butyl's the way to go, butyl's the way to go. So when you put butyl on here and you start screwing it in, butyl has what's called a rest. And what a rest, not arrest, a rest, means that after it stops oozing, all it can ooze, then that's where it stops. That's your rest. So you would have to cut that out. So now we'll say you put that butyl on there, you put all your screws in, it's oozing out, and you put a lick of caulking on there. That butyl is going to push out the caulking before the caulking cures, and then you have blank spots with the butyl exposed. And that butyl has no properties in it to protect it from UV light. So we don't even use it. And it also makes a daggone mess. I've taken off plenty of these gutters, and I've taken off plenty corner molds and everything. They're still leaking. So if the butyl worked, then why is it getting behind the butyl and not sealing the screws like they should? It just doesn't work. So we solely glue these on, and when we glue them on, the caulking comes up, and it's an special adhesive caulk that we use. We strike it down, then we put our first pass on there once it cures, and then when that first pass cures, we go back with another one. So we got 2 good passes on there. And the reason I do that is if you've ever operated a caulking gun and you start squeezing the gun, you start squeezing, you're going to hear it pop and crackle, and you might hear some of those noises, but what you're doing is you're injecting air in there. Those are air bubbles that are in the caulking tube. They all come down and get dispensed into the cartridge the same way, whether it's a high dollar one or a cheap one. They come down, they fill the cartridge, next one, fill it, done, right? That's the way it's done. So there is air in it, and that's what you injected. So what are the chances of having one air bubble land on top of another? So that's why I do it that way. These come in for inspections. That's why we have that tag on the back. We look at it, we want to know how long it's been, how long it's lasting, and that's how we keep up with things, to see if things are lasting the way we're promised that they would, right? We haven't had any issues with it doing this system this way. I've showed time and time again. I've been trying to upload some videos, and I know I did put a couple up on my Facebook about ones that come in for inspection and what they look like. I've had a few people ask. I don't know if they're quite up on my YouTube. If they're not, we'll probably put them up there. But we want to show that this all lasts. You don't have to keep going over this. You want to inspect it, of course, because these do rack and twist and flex. You get another Freelander in here, it's going to rack and twist and flex differently than this one. It's just the way things are, right? Just the physics of it all. And some of the common areas are right here in this transition, in this corner. The other corner. Those corners are typically where you would want to look. Even on the inside of this other one on the front, you want to look at that. So we check all of this stuff out. That's what we want to do, make sure everything is just the way it should be. And other than that, you don't have to keep messing with it. This caulking that we use is a commercial grade caulking. You don't have to slobber. Look at how nice and clean that caulk line come out. I mean, that is a really nice clean, even this one. This is a nice clean caulk line. It's not all slobbered on there. It just looks terrible with all that self-leveling stuff on there. It really does. All of this you don't have to mess with because it's all heat welded. You don't ever have to put anything on that. You're done. So there's the front view of that counter flash that I was telling you about. And even the refrigerator, we did it the same way. It's all heat welded together. Same thing. So that's the way you put these together. So if you're looking at a roof system, and if you also remember, we took off a satellite over here. He didn't want any antennas, but what we did do is we put a marker over there. Let's see if I can zoom up on it a little bit. We put a marker on there just to show, right there, just to show that that's where the satellite was, or the antenna wires and so forth, in case he ever wanted to, or somebody ever wanted to put an antenna on there, we know where it is. But all that said, over in that area earlier, go back in the video if you want to watch it, but we had some issues with some moisture when these, especially these ply foam roofs, when they get wet, you need to open them up and dry them out, because the foam gets wet, but the foam doesn't want to hold the water. It will soak down to the ceiling. And if you remember, we took that off, we still had ceiling that was wet. It will never ever dry out unless you open it up, and all that water will stay in there and breed mold. You don't want to do that. So why would you want to spray over a roof or roll over a roof or put a coating over it when you have damage underneath there? It's just not smart thinking. You're just going to ruin the coach. You're going to get all these other issues, and then you're going to go, where is this? I just had the roof done. I don't understand why the wall's coming down or why the ceiling panel's coming down, because it still has moisture in it. You need to get all that extracted out of there. So we got all that. We obviously we got some boots over here. That's the way we do all our ladders, because those ladders, they move around a lot, but that's a special boot we make there. Everything we make in the house, I make every single one of these here, okay? So now when those things move, there's a special sealer in there. It's like a rubber eraser on a pencil. That will stay flexible. It will not leak. It's done. It is absolutely done. So you don't have any issues with that. We also put, see if I can show, I know we did it over here. There we are. We put some more of these struts going down to the bumper to hold the weight of someone climbing the ladder. And what it does is it takes the pressure off of these horizontal supports where the ladders come out, so it doesn't keep bouncing. So that's what those do down there. So we put those on. And the roof system in itself, this is what's called a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. And what that is the thickness is 60 mil. On your typical RV roof, that's going to be like 25. So this is more than twice the thickness. And it comes in these three colors, you can see, obviously white, and then you got tan and gray. There's all our information if you need it right there. But this is a reinforced membrane. This is the same exact membrane that you're going to get on a hospital, a library, a restaurant, same exact material. Now, when commercial roofs, their entry level on a commercial roof is 45 mil. So we actually not only do we upgrade you from an RV membrane material to a commercial, but we upgraded yet one more on the commercial level. This is 60 mil. So this is, again, what they call a reinforced. And if you look at it, you can see those little squares in there. And those little squares, it's like a mesh that's built into it. And that's what gives it its strength to resist hail, tree branches, things like that. So this is a very, very strong membrane. This is going to last for a long, long time. They call this a 20-year system. That's 20 years on a commercial roof. That's how this is tested for, right? And then they do accelerated testing based on being on a commercial roof with constant sun exposure, constant exposure to the elements, so on and so forth. These RVs don't see all that sun exposure. 99% of the time, well, maybe you shouldn't say 99, but a vast majority of the time, they're in a shade, right? So you're going to get many, many years out of this for sure. And washes up real easy. So what they do is they warranty the membrane. They warranty this piece. That's all. Any roofing company, they're going to warranty this. They don't warranty labor. So we tell folks, come on back. Let's do your inspections. I would like to see these things come back within 60 days. That's awesome, because then it's moved. It's, you know, got some miles on it. It's racked and twisted and flexed and done what it's going to do on a normal travel, right? And then when it comes in, I look at everything. I want to make sure everything's done right. Nothing's, you know, everything just the way it should be, the way the customer paid us to do it. Then after that, you come back once a year, and we just keep re-inspecting for free. It doesn't cost you anything. None of those. Free. Come on back. We'll inspect your coach for you. Sometimes we see things on roofs that maybe a tree branch got into it, and if it did and it looks suspicious, we're going to fix it. It would have to be a pretty good tree branch. We had one customer who tried to make it underneath a drive-through, believe it or not, and that metal sign, man, it got in there and it ripped it, but we were able to patch it. We didn't have to do a whole new roof, so we were able to take care of that. Obviously, those things aren't necessarily covered under the warranty, but if someone come back and they had a little puncture in the roof from a tree branch, heck, I'd put the patch on. I'm not going to worry about charging a customer for that. He took the time to trade with us. I appreciate it. It's just a courtesy we extend. You know, as long as the whole roof isn't all ripped up. But when folks leave, we give them a care package. In that care package is going to have a roof patch. It's going to have all the necessary materials needed to do a patch to make sure it doesn't leak. And you can also do these patches in the rain. It could be raining out. Get up on there and you hear a boom. You get up there, go, holy cow, Widowmaker, come down, poke the hole. You can get up there and inject this product into the roof system, and when you do, it will stop it. It will stop it. So you don't have to worry about all that water getting in there. Then you can come up and you can do the patch, because the rest of the patches are going to be in the box with you. So all of that's there. You can see on the back of the air conditioner, we put these, basically they're just a couple of legs that help give it balance. And if that air conditioner gets replaced, you need to replace that counter flash, put it on the new one, and put these on the new one. That's really important to have all that done. So other than that, we don't sell anything here. I don't sell the curbs. I don't sell any caulking. We don't sell anything. We also did replace this insert trim, and this insert trim, it has a groove in it, see? And it sits in the track and outside the track. Every one of these screws, they're all glued. Every screw is glued. That's the way we do it. Only say sealed. That's how easy that snaps in. So other than that, I want to thank the customer for bringing the coach to us. Can't remember where he was from, but I know he had a little bit of a travel to bring it to us, so we really appreciate him trading with us. And you know, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps other people find it. And we also have a Facebook page. You can go on there, make a comment, and it's just RV Roof Install. That's all that is. And other than that, we really appreciate you watching. And we also don't quote on social media, and these aren't necessarily DIY videos. I try to show what we come across, and a lot of this stuff is really to show folks what we come across, but really more so for the customer to see, you know, all the work we did, what we found, and so forth. So but all the other steps that we did in there, these videos would be way too long, and you know, they may take up a little bit more time than what people want to really take the time to watch. So other than that, we appreciate it. Leave a comment down below if you like. And if you, like I said, if you like it, if you want to subscribe, that's awesome. We appreciate all the subscribers we do have. We're not usually one to come out and say, hey, you know, hit the like button, hey, do all this. We're not really YouTubers. We don't do this for content. Skip all the ads. We're not trying to make money off of YouTube. This is for, like I said, for the customer. So all those ads you see on YouTube with this video or whatever video you're watching, that's not us, that's YouTube. So we don't get them monetized, we don't care about it. YouTube sent us an email and said, we reserve the right to monetize them, and then they take all my money. So that was never the objective to putting these together ever when we started them. It was always to get this information out to the customer, unlike some other places that are trying to push all this content and make extra money off it. We're just not like that. We're just kind of old school, I guess. And also, I just don't have the time to do all this editing and all that stuff. I'm going to pull these clips off a camera. We put them in a program. They all upload. We hit a transition on it, put our card in the front, card in the back, and out the door it goes. So, like I said, we do appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Package. Right. So, in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You're going to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there
and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? No, just leave it alone.
Oh.
Leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fat fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably use some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. Oop, there it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. It doesn't all sit in there. You can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.